Hello, and welcome to Frontiers in Health and Happiness, the official podcast of the Lee Kum-sheung Center for Health and Happiness at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. My name is Ayla Fudala, Senior Communications Coordinator, and I'll be asking experts how to live a healthy, happy life. You're listening to the final episode of our 6-part Virtues for Well-Being series, where we're exploring how core human virtues like purpose, empathy, generosity, and joy, shape our physical, mental, and social health. Today's guest is Dr. Demond Hill, Assistant Professor of Health Equity in Tufts University's Elliott Pearson Department of Child Study and Human Development. His research focuses on the mental health and well-being of marginalized children, youth, and their families, with a particular emphasis on Black populations. Dr. Hill collaborates with communities to promote and protect opportunities for awe, belonging, and human flourishing. In this conversation, we'll explore Dr. Hill's research on awe, drawn from a 3-year youth participatory action project with Black and Brown high school students in Boston. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Hill. I wanted to begin by asking, what inspired you to focus on awe in particular?
Awe creeped up on me. I had an opportunity to do my PhD at Berkeley, at UC Berkeley. And while I was there, I was originally focused on education as a whole. While I was at Berkeley, I seen this man walking on campus. It was Dacher Keltner. And Dr. Dacher Keltner is, in a lot of ways, considered the awe guy. He studies it. He's been doing incredible work in the area. Through relationships, he ended up being a primary mentor of mine. While I was thinking broadly about a number of emotions, number of feelings as it relates to our children, my work is primarily a little bit more on the side of joy and shame and guilt and embarrassment, and other emotions are part of that. However, the work in just rubbing shoulders with Dr. Keltner made me start to consider and think deeply about awe itself. One of the things I wanted to play with is I had an opportunity to go to a particular part of San Francisco that has an incredibly beautiful view. Every day I drove there, I was in awe. Didn't have the language for it. Anytime I would have small one-off conversations with the children as they're jumping off of the trees, swinging from the swings, as the water is behind them, joyous, didn't have a word to capture that. Awe consistently came up for me. The unique thing, though, that I thought about was, does awe really live here? Or am I making it live here? And in that is where my work has gravitated towards. What does awe look like in the spaces and places that could be considered, with all of the research out there, spaces that awe does not exist, that awe cannot flourish in? And I wanted on one end to prove that it does and to show where and how it looks. And on the other end, I wanted to highlight what structurally is occurring, in particular at the micro and macro level, that are in ways tarnishing, damaging, stripping the experiences of awe in communities.
How do you define awe, and how do you distinguish it from joy or gratitude?
Dr. Keltner would say awe has a vastness. It's an experience that opens you, that pops, in my way, the bubble. That bubble could be, in a lot of ways for folks, the capitalistic, patriarchal, white supremacist bubble. It bursts it. Joy, in my opinion, although closely related, joy has, to me, a different type of feel and texture to it. So while awe in my mind can come with a stuckness, your mouth drops on the floor, your eyes get big, your breath slows down. You are one with, as we always talked about, you kind of get lost in the beauty around you, or you get lost in a lot of ways, and in a lot of my stories, potentially life and death. Those experiences that kind of stick with you and move through you everywhere you go. Joy, in my opinion, in the ways that I have studied joy, or the ways that the youth have taught me how to look at joy, is joy has a complexity in and of itself, where it is laughter, where it is a degree of freedom and flow.
Awe at least in my head, is very linked to dramatic natural vistas like
Yeah.
mountaintops, cliff
Absolutely.
sides.
Yeah.
Is there a way to experience awe without being a part of nature or being in dramatic natural scenery?
So there's a lot of scholars that have been playing with this concept. And I think the cool thing that I have kind of gravitated towards is what a lot of my peers, and this is stemming from a larger discipline, affect theory, that has thought about the minor and messiness of life. And how oftentimes, as we're achieving or chasing happiness, the goal of it, chasing joy, chasing the virtues, that oftentimes we're missing out on the messy road along the way. And in that, I have found myself going to cities like New York and being caught, in my opinion, in between what my youth have brought to the table, which is awful environments and spaces, and awe inspiring, and how in various places they do clash. And so when we are seeing, in my opinion, these humongous buildings with beautiful architecture and trees hanging off the side of it, you are inspired. You do get lost. You do look up in the sky and feel the wonder and feel the bliss. However, that can be quickly stopped by the loud sirens, can be quickly stopped with the screamings and the yelling, but it also can be confronted with the real material realities of many of our folks, such as looking down and seeing numbers of unhoused folks being walked over, stepped over, forgotten. And so, in many ways, I think we oftentimes are looking up and getting lost in the big rivers and the off the heads of the cliffs and you name it, and the buildings. And there's a number of good work that is saying all also is coming from what could be considered awful or the ugliness of our society and world. And when you're noticing and seeing someone unhoused that we are stepping over, stepping aside from, forgetting, for a lot of folks, those are their source of inspiration and wonder and bliss that motivates them to want to create change and move into the careers where they actually can be able to support.
Wow. So you're saying awful sights can actually be awe-inspiring because they motivate you to make a change?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in addition to that, I think when you go into cities like New York or Oakland, California, or LA, there is awe in watching the lowriders drive through the neighborhood with the beautiful colors and the big wheels. There is awe in watching a crowd celebrate their heritage and playing the music. There is awe in watching the graffiti of Malcolm X or Martin Luther King or Audre Lorde or Toni Morrison riddled throughout your community to remind you of who you are and what you are a part of. There is awe in the loud music that is being played that touches your heart and brings you together with others and allows for that connection and belonging. So while it could be existing in this container of structural violence or structural inequality, awe is still there. And my vision and my hope is as simple as what I think I got. Let's shift our gaze. If I shift it and I see all right here, and I believe it can exist here, then I'm willing to make it happen. And I'm going to find the people who are also willing to make it happen with me.
Turning to the impacts of awe, are there any effects on your mental, physical, or social health that come from experiencing awe?
There's been such incredible work on this area. Dr. Keltner and many who are a part of his, I would say, community of scholars have found that it does reduce stress. It does increase your desire to connect with others. It does allow for, again, that slowness that I think oftentimes we don't get and we seek and we yearn for. So the benefits have been incredible. However, I want to and find ways to bring those benefits to the communities that are struggling in various different ways, that it might be a little harder to shift their focus to, because in this world, and this is, I think, the truth, and it's something that I've been told often, is why would I worry about awe when I don't have enough money to pay my rent? I think those are real complex questions to sit with. They're not things we can set aside. So I've been challenging myself to hold that and remind folks that awe has an ability to allow for clarity for you. And that clarity can allow for you, push you, encourage you, I hope, fingers crossed, to navigate your stressors in your life with a little bit more foundation, groundedness. And so in various ways, I think health-wise, mental, physical, and emotional, incredible work. And I think I'm holding the reality that for some folks, they don't see the material reality or the impact of awe because they're dealing with so much other things that are distracting them from it. However, I've been trying to bring our beautiful community of folks in to see that awe can help them navigate those situations better.
How can awe contribute to human flourishing?
Awe on its own cannot. It may at an individual level get you closer to what you desire and yearn for when it comes to human flourishing. However, I believe that when it's contained to just an individual, that is, and selfishly, for me, awe to me is as much as awe is about you, it is about the community and the world around you. It's about allowing for you to take your shoes off and socks off and let your feet sink into the grass that you're in, onto the ground that you're in, holding hands with others, linking arms with others. And so as much as awe itself is powerful, incredibly beautiful, awe by itself is not enough. Awe requires us to actually connect, and it requires honesty.
How can awe challenge structural inequality?
I would give two potential ways, which is at the individual level. I think it has the opportunity and possibility to shift our gaze and attention. So while there may be many things in our communities that would allow for us to walk away, move away, and hide, awe, when we look at it in the minor and messy forms, can actually bring us in and requires us in a way and sparks that wonder and yearning to bring others in with us to be able to provide the support necessary and needed. And then structurally, which is what I'm trying to do, or at a macro level, what I'm trying to do, is work with our young folks, center them in the discussion. I think one of the biggest forms, and I've been encouraged to think about this a lot, one of the first forms of oppression is around ageism. And we often don't listen to our youth who have the answers. And in that, I believe when we bring our youth to the center, we ask them the questions that they have been yearning, that they want to answer. We bring in the 8 wonders of awe. We center them and we challenge them to turn this into actionable awe. How can we create the communities that we want to see? Share with them these beautiful opportunities. Take them on these excursions around the world, not around the world, but around Boston, and hope in various ways and know actually that they will bring their beautiful creativeness and create the very things that they believe are necessary for their communities to thrive and to flourish.
You're currently on the first year of a 3-year youth participatory action research project with Black and Brown high school students in Boston. How is this project structured, and what makes it different from a traditional research study?
Yeah. So while it's still in various ways a traditional research study, it moves and breaks those boundaries, and I believe in 3 simple forms. One end is youth participatory action research decenters me as their scholar and researcher, which I think is an important part of the process. As much as, and this is where I'm holding 2 things at once, as much as it's decentering me, it brings awe to me to let go of the control that I have been taught to have over the work I do. And by letting go of that control and putting the power in the hands of the youth. It breaks these normal, traditional, conventional ways of doing research. So again, moving into the messiness of the work. Youth are going to tell you they like something one day and they'll tell you they don't like it the next day. Trust them. They'll tell you that they believe this is true. Trust them. It allows for me, in a way, not to worry so much about outcomes, not to worry so much about definitions, but to actually allow for storytelling, to allow for freedom, and to create a space where our youth are allowed to just be. I think when you bring in community-based participatory action research, you're now opening the walls and doors for our youth to then contribute to their actual larger community. So another form of it is adding the I to YPAR and to CBPAR, which is I standing for intergenerational. The work should be, as much as it's about our young babies should be able to interact with our elders. Our elders have so much to offer our world as well. So my work, our work, the community's work is in various ways that. And so it slows me down. Publications may take 2 to 3 years to come out. Outcomes may be small. Outcomes may be large. I am, in this way, as a scholar, experiencing the awe by just being in community with them and allowing for them as a larger community, cross generations, cross race ethnicity, to just create.
You've used an awe and flourishing literacy after-school program with awe excursions. Mm-hmm. What did those excursions look like?
Yes. So the first phase that we're currently in is we have taken the youth who are in a particular neighborhood. We've taken them throughout their neighborhood. So what you'll hear a lot about with the work is that the cool thing that they have been able to do is, before we took them on these awe excursions, these walkthroughs, their community, we wanted them to just tell us what they already know about their community. They didn't have so many nice things to say. But while they did these awe excursions, where it was guided, it was encouraged to look at the messiness as sites of inspiration and wonder and curiosity. They were pushed even in times where they're like, I cannot see how this could be awe-inspiring, Dr. Hill. Eventually, they saw it as a challenge to make it awe-inspiring. So great opportunities have been taking them to a park that they have described as an area where they cannot be because of violence, because of police presence. However, while we walked through that park, they seen nuggets and corners and trees as opportunities for awe. So it was just as beautiful of an experience. They've walked through their communities. They're looking at the murals. They're taking pictures of the buildings. They're looking at how they want to redesign and recreate a playground or park. And then there's going to be more opportunities, which is taking them to a Boston Celtics game and letting them get caught in the awe of sports, taking them to the Boston Museum and allowing for them to get lost in the science, get lost in seeing huge dinosaurs and beautiful paintings and pictures. Also taking them to the edge of the water and seeing what that brings and sparks for them. So just as much as it about navigating and seeing what is in your community, it's just as taking you to other communities where awe is also existing and finding ways to actually connect to that.
Your work centers youth and community voices and uses participatory methods. How have students shaped your research questions or methods?
They have shaped a lot of it. And this makes me think of a quote from Toni Morrison when she was writing The Side of Memory, which is, they straightened out the Mississippi River in places to make room for houses and livable acreage. Occasionally, the river floods these places. Flood is the word they use, but in fact, it is not flooding. It is remembering where it used to be. And in a lot of ways, that is what the youth, I call them my babies, but my community is doing for me. is what I've done as a researcher. I have to own my privilege. I have to own the power I have. And I have to own the history of research, which has been straightening out the Mississippi River. And to make it generalizable, easier to understand, easier to manage. And when things flood over, in my world, that means something went wrong. The research wasn't consistent. You didn't use the right method. You didn't use the right argument. You didn't say the right word. You didn't study the right population. But actually, that's wrong. As I am navigating and moving through my career, being in community, being a human, I have to own and think about the various ways I've straightened the Mississippi River for others around me and for myself. I am just allowing, as a scholar, for others to tell me what they need. And there's no need to straighten the Mississippi River. Actually, we're doing the work of remembering. We're doing the work of recovery. We're doing the work of replenishing and repair. And I wouldn't have gotten that if I was not in the community, spending days, hours, building and connecting.
What have you learned from the first year of this project about how youth make sense of and experience awe in their everyday lives?
I had a vision that I would provide them with this curriculum, share with them the findings from all these beautiful work, put headphones on and play incredible music. And within months, they would be ready to go. But they weren't. They actually needed an opportunity to just be, to slow down. So what I've learned on one end is that as much as I want to provide and give it to them and share it with them and show them, it takes time to build that trust for them to be willing, for me to be the one that hands it to them, for me to be the one that shows them. And I think in another way, they're, as much as they have been resistant to it in various ways because of their circumstances, because of the weight and pressures of the world around them, there have been many, many moments where they want it and they want it bad. So holding the two is a big thing that I've learned that is going to come with ups and downs. Awe is just as much as it is about wonder and losing yourself in the vastness and being connected. It brings up a lot of hurt and pain as well. And I have to own and honor that. Another thing that it has allowed for me to learn is that they are the visionaries. They are creative. All we have to do is provide them with the tools, give them the money, and watch what they do. And it has been such a blessing being a part of that experience. And I think the last thing I'll say, which is just, again, to hold the complexities, is that at the end of the day, in our little safe haven or awe haven, if you want to call it, they still have to go into communities that and deal with police violence, deal with poverty, deal with horrible air quality, environmental racism, deal with trash, deal with a community that is not taken care of and supported by others at the state level. They have to go back into those communities and navigate. And so big thing has been when our youth come back, we still have to do work. So it feels like while we're taking 3 steps forward on a Monday, Tuesday we may take 2 steps back, but that's okay. We're still moving forward in the long run. So in the beauty, it's messy, and in the mess, it's beauty.
Were there any surprising or unconventional places where students discovered awe? Spaces that many people might overlook or even label as awful?
Yeah. I think one, which, might not click for a lot of people, but it definitely did for our team, is that they like to joke a lot. They like to make fun of each other a lot. And that was a big place where awe was bubbling, was through comedy, roughhousing, rough play. And while there were many moments where I was like, we have to stop, they were like, no, we're having fun. And that checking in reminded me that awe is right there. And them naming it allowed for me to honor it and hold it as well. And so just as much as we love to go to comedy shows and listen to and laugh our tails off, I think our youth are yearning for a place where they can just be. And so while an adult may come in there and say, you all need to stop, this is not good behavior, yada, yada, I actually think in that small little bubble of awe, they are enjoying every single second of it. So it's not my job as an adult to come in and pop it. I can, as an adult, ask questions to ensure that everyone here is having the same awe experience. So that's one area. And I think another area that many may say could be considered awful is these alleyways, these nooks and crannies, these open fields where the grass might be a little longer. A lot of the youth describe those places as the space where they play. They play flag football. They have little trampolines that they jump off of. These are the alleyways that they may race each other down, that they may eat snacks on the corner. Those are also these environments that could be transformed into, or that they're transforming into, awe-inspiring. The last I'll say, which has been really unique and really amazing in my opinion, is how bus stops have become potential sites of awe-inspiring. If the youth spend so much time on the bus, they spend so much time at bus stops, they spend so much time at a corner store, how those environments also could be learning environments. So how can we alter and switch and change what the bus stop and buses look like to be awe-inspiring, to be sites of learning? I think that is a huge area that our youth have been bringing to us.
How could you make bus stops inspiring?
There's an incredible scholar at Tufts University who has been thinking about playful learning environments. And one of the ways that they have been doing the work is allowing for the side of a bus stop to be monkey bars, or actually using the concrete as an artistic display. Why don't we actually paint a hopscotch board on the concrete? So they have been thinking of these smaller ways to inspire, and our youth have also been bringing that to the table as well. And one of the ways our youth were talking about was it would be really nice. They said, we spend so much time at the bus stop. It'd be nice if it had a little TV. So these are things that are wonderful. And I think we have to honor them just as much as we honor going to the middle of the woods and getting lost in the vastness of nature.
In what ways, if any, did participating in this project seem to affect students' mental health, sense of belonging, or visions for their communities?
The mental health aspect is one that we want to track over a longer course of time. And so in this exploratory phase, the nuggets of gold that we have found have been related to their sense of belonging and have been related to their visions for their community. When we first asked, we said, has anyone ever experienced awe before? Does anyone know what awe is? One out of the students said they did and gave a fairly great response. Many of the students were kind of wondering what it could be. But over a few weeks, one student was like, I actually went to New Hampshire and had their own personal experience and uttered the words, I sat there and thought that this is what God wanted me to have. And that, I think, was so powerful. Is we again, a part of that quote around Toni Morrison is the remembering the awe that you have experienced over the course of your life is just as important as the awe that you experience going ahead. And in that remembering process, this student yearned to bring that back. So that's one way that we're noticing is in the process of remembering, a lot of the youth are like, I want others to also experience this too. And in another way that we have seen it in the sense of belonging or connection has literally been where many would think is an awful awe experience, where kids are joking with each other and picking on each other and playing with each other rough. Those have been the sites where they actually felt closer than ever. A lot of these discussions and just bare bones tell me stories have been real serious sites of awe for them. Whereas for the first time I got to hear and see the beauty in my peer. So moral beauty has been a humongous part of the process. Sense of belonging has been at the core of when I see beauty in you and I hear your story and I get to be with you, I in myself am experiencing awe, and I yearn to take the little nuggets of beauty that you have and insert them into my everyday life.
For practitioners, educators, or community leaders listening, what are a few practical ways they might begin to cultivate awe and flourishing in their own settings, especially in under-resourced urban environments?
I think this brings me back again to the quote from Toni Morrison, which is, they straightened out the Mississippi River in places to make room for houses and livable acreage. Occasionally, the river floods these places. Floods is the word they use, but in fact, it is not flooding. It is remembering where it used to be. Youth are going through their own process of remembering, finding ways to think about what they want to do for their community, what they want to do for themselves, what they yearn for the world. I also think adults or educators, practitioners need to tap back into our memory bank and remind ourselves of our younger self and what did our younger self need, and have that real honest conversation, which is required of all, a critical love practice, which is you're being honest that you're not honoring your younger self and you're not honoring the younger selves of others, and you're going to commit yourself to doing so in very simple ways, asking youth what they need and trusting that they have the answer, and providing the resources, space, opportunities for them to flourish. But then the last I will say, which is my biggest thing and things that I love, is I know the world is a hot mess, to say the least, but there is so much around us. We have to start to shift our focus, shift our gaze to thinking about the minor and messy ways all can show up. And while we may want to focus on the trash and how gross this street is and how no one takes care of this street, having an awe focus, being awe-inspired is saying, wow, there's so much we can do here. That little shift, I believe, is so powerful. And more than anything, it's really powerful in the school setting. We can think about things. We can shift our foundation. And I believe we can get closer to human flourishing.
Are there any final words you'd like to leave our audience with?
Go experience the everydayness of awe. Find it in the people that you love. Go sit on your corner. Go sit on your stoop and get lost in the essence and flow of your community. Actually catch the flow of your community. Do you know the pace of your community actually? Go see a neighbor and hug them. Slow down. There are so many opportunities here in this beautiful place to experience awe at the big level and at the small level.
Thank you so much to Dr. Demond Hill for joining us to discuss the importance of awe and the powerful role it can play in promoting human flourishing and health equity. His work reminds us that awe is not reserved for mountaintops and museums. It can emerge in overlooked, even awful spaces. And when mobilized intentionally, it can be a transformative force for healing, resilience, and communal well-being. As our Virtues for Well-Being series draws to a close, a clear through line has emerged. Virtues are not optional extras. They are powerful, evidence-based pathways to resilience, health, and thriving communities. From Dr. Victor Strecker, we learned that having a sense of purpose can buffer us against adversity and serve as a protective factor for mental health. Dr. Sarah Conrath showed us that generosity and empathy are not only good for others, but also profoundly good for us. Dr. Richard Weisbord underscored that raising caring, ethical children requires that we prioritize their moral development at least as much as their happiness and achievements. We also explored how these virtues can be cultivated in daily life and across the lifespan. Dr. Richard Davidson's neuroscience research proved that training our minds, especially through mindfulness practices, can literally rewire our brains and increase our capacity for flourishing. Dr. Emiliana Simon Thomas's Big Joy Project showed that even one small intentional act each day can spark joy and contribute to our well-being. And today, Dr. Hill helped us see that awe can be cultivated in marginalized communities as a source of healing equity, and collective thriving. Across this series, the message has been consistent. Virtues and emotional states like purpose, empathy, generosity, caring, mindfulness, joy, and awe are not abstract ideals. Durable, cultivatable, and essential for our mental, physical, and social health. And when we nurture them, not just in individuals, but in families, neighborhoods, and policies, they become catalysts for happier, healthier, and more just communities. This has been another episode of Frontiers in Health and Happiness, the official podcast of the Lee Kum-Sheung Center for Health and Happiness at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. To learn about upcoming events, visit our website, sign up for our mailing list, and follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Blue Sky, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.